232. Hai Rui, a man of unyielding integrity. During the time when Yin Song held power, not only he and his son, but also all of their associates abused their authority and acted with impunity. From high-ranking court officials to local magistrates, everyone feared them and submitted to their influence. However, in the small county of Chenan, Zhujiang, there was a magistrate who upheld justice and showed no favoritism, even in the face of Yin Song's associates. His name was Hai Rui. Hai Rui was born in Qiangshan, Guangdong. His father died when he was young, and he was raised by his mother in extreme poverty. In his 20s, he passed the provincial examination and became a jiren. He worked as a school instructor in a county academy, where he was known for his strict and meticulous teaching. Before long, he was transferred to Chenan as its magistrate. In the past, local officials in Chenan often accepted bribes and carelessly decided legal cases. However, upon assuming office, Hai Rui diligently reviewed unresolved cases. No matter how complex a case was, he thoroughly investigated it and ensured that justice was served. He never wronged innocent people. As a result, the local people revered him and called him Qing Tian, blue sky, a term used for honest and upright officials. Hai Rui's superior, Zhujiang's governor Hu Zongxian, was an ally of Yin Song. Using his powerful connections, he extorted money wherever he went, and those who did not comply with his demands suffered consequences. One day, Hu Zongxian's son, accompanied by a large entourage, passed through Chenan and lodged at the official guest house. In any other county, the magistrates would have rushed to flatter him. But in Chenan, Hai Rui had set a strict rule: regardless of rank, all guests would be treated equally. Hu's son, accustomed to luxury, was enraged when he saw the simple meal prepared for him, interpreting it as an insult. In a fit of rage, he overturned the table and ordered his attendants to tie up and hang the inn servant upside down from a beam. The inn staff immediately reported the incident to Hai Rui. Having already been annoyed by Hu's son's arrogance, Hai Rui knew he had to intervene. Feigning calmness, he said, "Governor Hu is an honest and upright official. He has long instructed all counties to avoid extravagance when hosting officials. This so-called nobleman, with his lavish display and arrogant behavior, cannot possibly be the governor's son. He must be an impostor seeking to cause trouble in our county." Without hesitation, Hai Rui led a large group of officers to the inn, arrested Hu's son and his entourage, and brought them to the county office for interrogation. At first, Hu's son raged, confident that his father's influence would protect him. However, Hai Rui firmly insisted that he was a fraudster and threatened severe punishment. Only then did Hu's son become fearful. Hai Rui searched his belongings and confiscated several thousand taels of silver before expelling him from the county. By the time Hu's son returned to Hangzhou to complain to his father, Hai Rui had already sent a report to the provincial administration, stating that an impostor had assaulted government servants. Although Hu Zongxian was furious over his son's humiliation, Hai Rui had tactfully avoided directly implicating him. Making a public issue of the matter would only damage his own reputation, so he had no choice but to suppress his anger. Confronting Yin Song's adopted son. Soon after, a court-appointed censor, Yin Maoqing, was sent to inspect Zhujiang. As the adopted son of Yin Song, Yin Maoqing was even more ruthless in his extortion. Wherever he went, he demanded hefty bribes from local officials. Those who failed to pay suffered dire consequences. The mere announcement of his arrival caused panic among magistrates across the province. However, Yin Maoqing hypocritically claimed that he preferred simplicity and disliked excessive hospitality. Hai Rui, seeing through his facade, sent him a letter. "We have received notice that we must host you in a simple manner. However, we have also learned that wherever you go, grand feasts and extravagant entertainment are the norm. This puts us in a difficult position. If we follow the official instructions, we risk offending you. But if we follow local custom and arrange a lavish reception, we may violate your wishes. Please advise us on what to do." This letter exposed Yin Maoqing's hypocrisy, enraging him. However, knowing Hai Rui's reputation for integrity and recalling how Wu Zongqian's son had suffered humiliation in Chenan, he feared provoking him. At the last moment, he changed his route and avoided Chenan altogether. Humiliated by this incident, Yan Maoqing bore a grudge against Hai Rui. Later, he instructed his allies to accuse Hai Rui before Emperor Shizong. As a result, Hai Rui was dismissed from his position as magistrate. However, after Yan Song's downfall, Yan Maoqing was exiled, and Hai Rui was reinstated and later transferred to the capital. A direct confrontation with the emperor. Upon arriving in the imperial court, Hai Rui witnessed firsthand the corruption and incompetence plaguing the government. By then, Emperor Shizong had not attended court for over 20 years, preferring to seclude himself in the palace, indulging in Taoist rituals with mystics. No official dared to criticize him. Despite holding a minor position, Hai Rui boldly submitted a memorial directly addressing the emperor's failures. In his document, he bluntly exposed the widespread corruption in the government. Officials are corrupt and tyrannical, and the people can no longer survive. Your Majesty, the common people have long harbored resentment against you. Aware that this criticism could cost him his life, Hai Rui took precautions. On his way home after submitting the memorial, he stopped to buy a coffin. His wife and son were terrified when they saw it. Hai Rui calmly explained the situation, gave instructions for his funeral, and dismissed his servants, preparing for his imminent arrest and execution. As expected, the memorial caused an uproar in the court. Upon reading it, Emperor Shizong was enraged. He threw the document to the ground and shouted, "Arrest this man at once! Don't let him escape!" A nearby eunuch, aware of Hai Rui's reputation, advised the emperor, "This man is a well-known scholar, Your Majesty. He has already made arrangements for his death, knowing he would offend you. He will not flee." Despite this, Emperor Shizong ordered Hai Rui's immediate arrest. He was handed over to the notorious secret police, the Jinyue, and subjected to severe torture. Only after Emperor Shizong's death was Hai Rui finally released. 233. Qi Jiguang's campaign against the Wokou. During the reign of Emperor Shizong of the Ming Dynasty, a group of Japanese pirates frequently harassed the southeastern coastal regions of China. These pirates, known in history as the Wokou, colluded with Chinese landowners and corrupt merchants, looting villages and killing civilians, causing widespread unrest along the coast. In 1553, with the help of Chinese traders Wang Ji and Su Hai, the Wokou assembled hundreds of ships and landed along the coasts of Zhejiang and Jiangsu. They divided into smaller groups and plundered dozens of cities. Local officials and soldiers were too afraid to resist and fled at the sight of the invaders. As the Wokou invasions grew more severe, even Emperor Shizong, who was secluded deep within the palace, became worried. He turned to Yan Song for a solution. One of Yan's associates, Zhao Wenhua, suggested that the only way to stop the Wokou was to pray to the sea god for protection. Astonishingly, Emperor Shizong believed him and sent Zhao to Zhejiang to conduct the ritual. Eventually, the court dispatched an experienced general, Yu Daiyou, who was familiar with coastal defense, to confront the Wokou. Upon his arrival in Zhejiang, Yu Daiyou won several battles against them. However, the governor of Zhejiang, Zhang Jing, was later framed by Zhao Wenhua and imprisoned, dragging Yu Daiyou into the political turmoil. With the loss of military leadership, the Wokou attacks intensified once more. It was only after the court reassigned the Shandong general Qi Jiguang to Zhejiang that the situation began to change. Qi Jiguang, the national hero. Qi Jiguang, one of China's greatest military heroes, was from Penglai, Shandong. When he arrived in Zhejiang, he first inspected the local troops and found them undisciplined and unfit for battle. Determined to build a formidable fighting force, he decided to recruit new soldiers. His recruitment call was quickly answered by farmers and miners who had suffered under Wokou raids, as well as local militia eager to resist the invaders. In a short time, Qi Jiguang's newly formed army grew to 4,000 men. As a commander well-versed in military strategy, Qi Jiguang understood that soldiers needed rigorous training before they could be effective in battle. He studied the terrain of the southern coastal marshlands and designed new battle formations accordingly. He personally trained his soldiers in the use of both long and short weapons. Under his strict training regimen, this new force became extraordinarily skilled in combat. Soon, the reputation of Qi's army, Kajayajin, spread far and wide. Victories against the Wokou. A few years later, the Wokou launched another large-scale assault on the Taizhou region, present-day Linhai, Zhejiang. Qi Jiguang and his troops immediately rushed to the battlefield. Wherever the pirates struck, Qi's army pursued them relentlessly. Compared to Qi's well-trained and disciplined soldiers, the Wokou, a disorderly band of raiders, stood no chance. After 9 intense battles, Qi's army emerged victorious every time. Eventually, unable to hold their ground on land, the Wokou were forced to retreat to their ships. Qi Jiguang then ordered his cannons to bombard the enemy fleet. Fires broke out among the Wokou ships, and many pirates either burned to death or drowned in the sea. Those stranded on land had no choice but to surrender. With Zhejiang now heavily fortified, the Wokou no longer dared to invade the province. The following year, they shifted their attack southward to Fujian. One group of Wokou advanced from Wenzhou toward Ningda, while another force moved northward from Guangdong and occupied Niutian. The two groups coordinated their attacks, posing a major threat. The garrison in Fuzhou could not withstand the onslaught and urgently requested reinforcements from the imperial court. Once again, Qi Jiguang was called upon to rescue the region. After arriving in Ningda, Qi Jiguang gathered intelligence and learned that the Wokou stronghold was on Hengyu Island, 10 miles outside the city. The island was surrounded by water and had a strategically advantageous terrain. The Wokou had established a heavily fortified base there, and the local Ming forces dared not attack them. Qi Jiguang personally scouted the terrain and observed that the water channel surrounding Hengyu Island was neither deep nor wide. That night, during low tide, he ordered each of his soldiers to carry a bundle of dry grass. As they reached the shore opposite Hengyu, they threw the bundles into the water, forming a floating path. Under the cover of darkness, Qi's army silently advanced across this makeshift bridge and infiltrated the Wokou camp. After an intense battle, all 2,000 pirates stationed on the island were wiped out. Having secured Hengyu Island, Qi Jiguang then marched on Niutian. Upon reaching the outskirts, he issued a deceptive order. After a long journey, our troops and horses are exhausted. We shall rest before proceeding further. This false intelligence quickly reached the Wokou, who believed Qi's army had halted its advance. Their defenses relaxed, and they let their guard down. That very night, Qi Jiguang launched a surprise attack. Caught completely off guard, the Wokou attempted to resist, but were no match for Qi's well-prepared troops. The pirate forces crumbled, and their leader fled with the remnants of his army to Xinghua. However, Qi's army pursued them relentlessly, capturing over 60 enemy encampments along the way and annihilating the retreating forces. By dawn, Qi's army had marched into Xinghua, and the local residents, realizing that the Wokou had been eliminated, erupted in celebration. People slaughtered cattle and brought wine to the soldiers' camp to express their gratitude. Final campaigns against the Wokou. The following year, the Wokou launched yet another invasion of Fujian, this time capturing Xinghua. By then, General Yu Daiyou had been reinstated to his command. The court appointed Yu Daiyou as the commander-in-chief of Fujian's military forces, with Qi Jiguang serving as his deputy. The two renowned generals worked together and inflicted a crushing defeat on the Wokou, successfully reclaiming Xinghua. In 1565, Yu Daiyou and Qi Jiguang once again combined their forces for another decisive battle. This time, they achieved a resounding victory, effectively eradicating the Wokou menace that had plagued China's coastal regions for decades. 234. Li Shizhen, gathering herbs in the mountains. Emperor Shizong of the Ming dynasty reigned for over 40 years, indulging in a life of pleasure. However, he constantly feared aging and death, knowing that once his time came, his days of luxury would end. In his desperation, he sought a miraculous elixir that would grant him immortality. In 1556, the imperial court issued an order for local officials to recommend renowned physicians. At the time, the Prince of Chu, who ruled in Wuchang, recommended Li Shizhen, a doctor serving in his palace, to the Imperial Medical Academy, Taiyuan. Li Shizhen was a native of Qizhou, present-day Sichuan, Hubei. His grandfather and father were both physicians, and his father, Li Yinwen, was particularly knowledgeable about medicinal herbs. Influenced by his father, Li Shizhen often went into the mountains with his childhood friends to gather herbs. Over time, he learned to identify various plants and understood which ones could be used for treating diseases. His medical knowledge steadily expanded, choosing medicine over bureaucracy. At that time, being a physician was looked down upon by the upper class. Despite being a doctor himself, Li Yinwen insisted that Li Shizhen study for the imperial examinations in hopes of securing an official position. Under his father's pressure, Li Shizhen passed the preliminary Shiozai scholar exam at the age of 14. However, he failed the Jiren provincial level exam 3 times. While others pitied him, Li Shizhen did not despair. His true aspiration was to become a great physician who could help the common people. From then on, Li Shizhen devoted himself entirely to studying medicine under his father's guidance. That same year, a severe flood struck his hometown, and after the waters receded, an epidemic broke out. The afflicted were mostly poor peasants who could not afford treatment. Although the Li family was not wealthy, both father and son sympathized with the suffering masses and treated patients without asking for payment. Their skill and compassion earned them deep gratitude from the local people. Expanding medical knowledge. To further his medical expertise, Li Shizhen read extensively. China had a long history of medical texts, dating back to the Shennong Benqiao Jing, Shennong's classic of herbal medicine, from the Han Dynasty. Over the next 1,000 years, many new medical books were written. Because of his growing reputation, Li Shizhen was frequently invited to treat noble families, many of whom owned vast collections of books. Taking advantage of these opportunities, he borrowed and studied their medical texts. This greatly enriched his knowledge, and his medical skills became even more refined. As word spread of his abilities, patients from nearby counties came seeking his treatment. One day, the Prince of Chu's son developed a severe seizure disorder. The prince's court physicians tried everything, but none could cure the child. Since this boy was his father's beloved heir, the prince was deeply distressed. Someone advised him that only Li Shizhen could treat such an illness. The prince immediately summoned Li Shizhen to the palace. After examining the child's complexion and pulse, Li Shizhen quickly determined that the seizures were caused by digestive problems. He prescribed a herbal remedy to regulate the child's stomach and intestines. As soon as the prince's son took the medicine, his condition improved dramatically. Overjoyed, the prince repeatedly urged Li Shizhen to stay in his service. Not long afterward, the imperial court called for recommendations of talented individuals. Seeking to gain favor with Emperor Shizong, the prince recommended Li Shizhen to serve at the Imperial Medical Academy in Beijing. Rejecting the imperial court, the Taiyuan was the highest medical institution in the empire. However, at that time, Emperor Shizong was more interested in alchemy and Taoist rituals than in genuine medicine. He surrounded himself with fraudulent mystics who conducted elaborate ceremonies and concocted immortality pills in hopes of prolonging his life. As an honest and principled physician, Li Shizhen was disgusted by the corrupt and superstitious environment of the palace. After only a year at the Imperial Medical Academy, he resigned and returned home. On his journey back, Li Shizhen took the opportunity to explore famous mountains and landscapes. However, he was not sightseeing, he was searching for medicinal herbs and studying their properties. During one such expedition to Wudang Mountain in Junzhou, present-day Danjiankou, Hubei, he heard of a fruit called langmei, rumored to have the power to restore youth and grant immortality. The royal court prized this fruit as a sacred treasure, and local officials were required to send yearly tributes of langmei while prohibiting commoners from picking it. Li Shizhen, however, did not believe in such mystical claims. Determined to uncover the truth, he risked his life climbing steep cliffs to collect the langmei fruit. After thorough study, he concluded that it was nothing more than an ordinary plum with a mild thirst-quenching effect, far from being an immortal fruit. Writing the Compendium of Materia Medica. Through years of medical practice and field research, Leschurien gathered a wealth of scientific data. He discovered that many ancient medical texts contained errors, and that countless medicinal herbs had been discovered over time that were not documented in old books. Determined to compile a comprehensive and accurate medical text, he devoted nearly 30 years to writing what would become his masterpiece, the Benchao Gongmu, Compendium of Materia Medica. This monumental work documented 1,892 medicinal substances and included over 10,000 prescriptions, making an extraordinary contribution to Chinese medicine. After its publication, the Compendium of Materia Medica spread worldwide. It was translated into multiple languages, including Japanese, German, English, French, Russian, and Latin, securing its place as a crucial reference in the global medical community. The Emperor's Fate. As for Emperor Shizong, his obsession with alchemy and immortality ultimately led to his demise. Instead of achieving eternal life, he died from consuming toxic golden elixirs meant to prolong his existence. Following his death, his son Zhu Zaiho ascended the throne as Emperor Muzong.